This is Greg Pruitt, formerly of the Cleveland Browns, and you're listening to The Sports Fix.
Sports Fix listeners, like us on Facebook today. Facebook.com/The Sports Fix.
Business owners and professionals, do you want to take your business, your product, your team, your event to the next level? You want to advertise right here with the Sports Fix. Our listeners are among the most loyal listeners, terrestrial or internet. The Sports Fix universe is not only the radio show, but tens of thousands of fans on Facebook and Twitter. Email me, Jerry Myers, thesportsfix@AOL.com. That's thesportsfix@AOL.com. And let me help you swing for the fences and hit it out of the park right here on the Sports Fix.
Portions of the Sports Fix brought to you by Fantasy Jocks. Visit fantasyjocks.com, your fantasy sports superstore. Championship belts, rings, trophies, and more.
Live in Ohio, it's time to get your fix. The Sports Fix.
Welcome in, everybody, to the Sports Fix, a Friday edition here on the Sports Fix Radio Network. Right off the bat, things are out of whack. We are completely out of commission today. We have no live streaming internet capabilities right now, and no way of telling when this is going to be. Service is down on both of our internet servers, so we did whatever we could do here to flee just a few minutes ahead of you, getting it uploaded through my cell phone up to so that we could get something together for you guys. And hope good show today. Just a sports fix here. Let's do what we're doing the best we can do it. We'll make it rock. I'm going to bring back Ernest out for you, replay it. One of my favorite interviews that we've ever done here on the show. Can't wait to do it. I mean, obviously not the best of circumstances, but doggone it, we're going to take those lemons and make us some lemonade. Welcome in, you guys, to the Sports Fix. I am your host, the Big Daddy on the microphone, J-Rocc, Jerry Myers, with you guys here almost every weekday live at noon across the Sports Fix Radio Network. Maybe that means you're listening on TuneIn and TuneIn's radio app worldwide, on Spreaker and Mixlr and their respective digital and mobile applications. Perhaps you're enjoying the show live off of our home base, thesportsfix.net, your one-stop shop for everything Cleveland sports and Sports Fix. As well, welcome in all of you listening to the show on digital delay 24/7 on sites around the world. Thousands of you. iHeartRadio, the world's largest internet radio provider, on iTunes and Stitcher Radio and SoundCloud and all the places that you download and feed and subscribe and enjoy the broadcast. Thank you guys so much for being with us. Big Daddy on the microphone, J-Rocc, Jerry Myers, counting it down and bringing it to you here as we roll on. Normally, this is the part of the show where I open up the phones, 216-539-7535, 216-539-7535. Phones are open for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Call, leave your take. We'll play it on the next live show, which will be coming up on Monday, 216-539-7535. Social media, Facebook and Twitter, facebook.com/The Sports Fix. Tweet with us at The Sports Fix CLE, facebook.com/The Sports Fix. Again, Twitter at The Sports Fix CLE. You can email us anytime, day or night. The Sports Fix at AOL.com. As I said, not the most optimal circumstances today, but we are going to make this bad boy rock, and what a better way to do it. 2 weeks ago, had a chance to sit down with legendary Browns and NFL running back EARNEST BYNER, legendary for what he's done on the field, legendary urban legend for one specific incident, but in my opinion, every bit as legendary for what he's done and continues to do off the field, as we'll talk about here. I think some of you will see a different side of old EB21 than perhaps you may have known on the football field or known when he was here in Cleveland, not once, but twice, and throughout his lifetime. So looking forward to bringing this to you. Hopefully you guys enjoy it as much this time as we did the first time. I sure did. EARNEST BYNER, legendary Browns and NFL running back, coach, and great man, joins us for an exclusive sit-down interview here. This one's going to take a while, so grab your coffee, grab some lunch, sit down and enjoy it. And hey, if you do, tell somebody else to tune in too. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave you with this. Have a good one. I'll be right back. We'll keep doing the show as we do it. Got some news coming up later on. I'll get you all set for the weekend, but right now, let's jump right into it. EARNEST BYNER here on the Sports Fix. EARNEST BYNER, the great EARNEST BYNER, joins us next here on the hotline. Ernest, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for joining us here, of course. Very glad to have you, my man.
It's a pleasure.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you. And, man, we're rocking and rolling. Before we even get into anything about you, I think you heard me set it up before we went to the break. I have no doubt what you're going to say as a running back and all of it. But Super Bowl this past weekend, man, what were your thoughts as you watched the final sequence of things go down there for Seattle?
I didn't watch the game.
I was
just kidding. I was just kidding.
I was going to say, man, I set myself up for that.
Well, first of all, I want to set this up because they did a fantastic job on the with 32 seconds left in the first half of managing the clock, calling the right plays, getting the ball down there. He threw a ball to the sideline to get to like the 14 or 15-yard line. They had a penalty that moved them closer. They call a fade route to the short side of the field. I mean, they really managed that clock very well to get that touchdown just before the half. Flash forward to the last 2-minute drill that they had. I didn't sense that they managed that well, because they started that off with 3 timeouts. They ended up with 2, but they had to burn a couple timeouts because they couldn't get a playoff. And then it was one other timeout that they had to burn before they got to where the miracle catch happened. Marshawn runs the play. All of a sudden, you go into some type of panic. It was something that went amiss, other than just them just calling a pass play. After Marshawn ran the ball, they made a substitution. All of a sudden, clock was running. And matter of fact, I thought Bill Belichick was going to call timeout, to tell you the truth, to try to save time. So I would have ran the ball just because it would have actually made, at least, first of all, would have gave him an excellent chance of putting it in Beast Mode's hands, having him score the winning touchdown. But also, it would have took down more of the time. So if New England gets the ball back, they don't have that much time. So, yeah, I would have definitely given it to Beast Mode for a couple of reasons. One, he probably is going to score because of what he just done in the play before. And if he doesn't score, time is running, but you still have two other. You can call timeout, and you still got the third and the fourth down to actually throw the ball and perhaps score at that rate.
Man, that was the answer I was looking for. I knew where you were going to be at with that, but I figured that would be a good way to break the ice. I love the way you break it down, too, man. I mean, I don't know how many people know. Of course, they know the career you had on the field, but a lot of times players disappear off the field, and unless they're in the headline for this reason or that reason, then people don't know what happens to them. And you've done a lot of coaching since the time you've come off the field up until just recently here. And so you definitely continue to use, obviously, just as you break down that right there, man, the way you break it down.
It's a blessing, man. Thanks for noticing. It's definitely a blessing. I love the game. I love trying to help people understand the game. I love to help people play the game at a higher level. I actually, one of the things that I enjoy too is trying to help people go to a different level mentally. Both on the field and off. So it's a love affair that I definitely have.
I mean, that sounds exactly like the kind of attitude. Seriously, and this is legit. This isn't me just kissing up because you're here on the show. Although, for all fairness, I have to admit,
kiss up, baby. I'll take it. it.
I have to admit, my childhood, which of course those are the ones that you hang to, man. The era that I grew up on was you guys. So clearly, there's going to be some bias in my talking here. But taking that head off of it. That attitude is what got you to the NFL. I mean, here you've always had that fighting for more and working so hard as one of the traits that got you through. Coming from being a low draft pick here and working your way in through the NFL and just continuing to carve out the career that you did.
Yeah, it was definitely a blessing. My grandmother raised us in the church. One of the first things I can remember her saying to us is, "Do unto others as you would have them to do unto you." A sense of fairness, a sense of doing what's right because it is what's right, was put in me, and it was just a natural thing for me to work at and develop as I did. It was a blessing that was given to me, and the ability to see things from a coach's perspective and a teacher's perspective was a blessing early on in my life. My grandmother was actually a teacher, and that gene is a gene that's in my family. It got to me real heavily, and it's actually being passed on down to my daughters. To me, they have taken that up as well. So that gift is definitely there, man. I appreciate you noticing that.
And the flip side of being a teacher is, of course, you have the sponge. Like I understand that very much. I in my other line of work, I've done professional wrestling for the last 16 years, and I've trained guys through the years, guys that are on national TV now doing their thing. And so I know that pleasure of teaching somebody, watching them learn it and then apply it and then go out and succeed at it. And you're like, it's that pride. It's like your kids. It's the same kind of thing. It's like a different extension of children. But to teach, you also have to learn, because you know that you have to always be learning things so that you can teach correctly. So, and of course, that again is how you became good at what you did, because you soak up things like a sponge, and then you also turn and teach it back out.
Yeah, and that's to me, that's the natural progression that we should go through. Is you learn, you experience, you learn, you teach, and then you continue to grow. And then I believe it's up to the individuals that you teach. Matter of fact, not up to them. It should be an obligation to them to do the same thing, because, in my opinion, our experiences are not just for us; it's for other people to actually be able to glean and to glean information, but also to sometimes you don't necessarily have to go through an experience to learn and grow from it. You can actually watch somebody, you can actually listen to somebody and learn. And then you can apply the principles to your life. So that was one of the blessings that I had, man. It was one of the other blessings that I had when I got to Cleveland, was that Mike Pruitt, Boyce Green, Dino Hall, Charles White all took me under their wings and were actually teaching me. So, to me, it was just a gift to be able to give back to the others that came with me: Kevin Mack, Herman Fontenot, Bernie, Langhorne, all of these guys to actually hold everybody accountable to that same level of accountability and love. Just for the reason that you love them. You want to hold these guys accountable. You want to see them do better. You want to see them get it and also go and use it as I was able to be blessed to do as well.
Man, Ernest, that's real, man. It's so refreshing compared to what you hear when you talk to guys. We do it so much that you get used to hearing just a similar line of thinking. And then I talk to somebody like you, and I'm like, man, I could do this all day long. You mentioned Herman. Herman Fontenot is just one of my favorite people in the world. He's such a good guy, man, And again, when I talk to him, it's so much like what I'm hearing from you about giving back and community and all of that, and knowing that you're blessed with gifts and that it's your gift then to re-bestow that on other people. Right, absolutely. And I'm actually coming back up. I'm coming to Cleveland next week. Got a couple events up there, and it'd be good to catch up with some of those guys. I'm going to be with K-Mac, catch up with Bernie. Hopefully we can get out and get dinner together, relax a little bit. Langhorne is still there. Dixon is still there. So Jackson and some of those guys, man, be able to get out and break bread. Hopefully, maybe even at Bernie's restaurant or something, man, go out there and relax and be able to, continue to build each other up. Because that's the thing that you miss, is that camaraderie that you had as a teammate, and the natural love that you have for each other, man. So it's good to also get back with these guys, man, and kind of catch up, share a hug and a drink or something. You know, absolutely. And you're throwing these names out here. Now guys are like, oh, now we're talking. We're talking about football. We're talking about the Browns. Off and running with Ernest Byner here on the Sports Fix. Guys, let's get our first break out of the way here. Perfect timing. Talked a little bit about now, a little bit about the Super Bowl, a little bit about the Browns of now. Then it's time to dive into the Browns of yesteryear. I know that's what you guys are waiting for. Let's take a break and come back and start diving into the career of Ernest Byner here on the Sports Fix, bringing you from the archives, well, not way back, from 2 weeks ago, here on the Sports Fix. It's an almost live best of the Sports Fix. Ernest Byner continues when we come back here on the Fix.
Let's celebrate. Get your fix.
Because it's Friday, you ain't got no job, and you ain't got to do.
It's the Sports Fix. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, before we go to the break, I want to talk to you a little bit again about our good friends at Harry Buffalo North Olmsted, the UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championships, some of the hottest fights in the world today. Each and every one of their huge events, Harry Buffalo is one of the few places in Northeast Ohio you can go there and watch each and every UFC fight at the Harry Buffalo. And let me tell you, I've been there. The people are out the door. They are to the rafters. It is one of the craziest environments for some UFC fights. Wing Mondays, they've got great deals on wings and drinks, and every day of the week there's a different special, a different deal. And don't forget the Bison Burger, the unbelievable. It is the combination of a fantastic burger and eating healthy combined into one unbelievable sandwich. You have got to get a Bison Burger while you're there. So whatever you're looking for, whatever day of the week, Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sundays, there's something for you at the Harry Buffalo North Olmsted, just outside Great Northern Mall. Check them out today. Harry Buffalo, join the herd.
The Sports Fix is on iHeartRadio. Download the free iHeart app today. Subscribe to the show and get your fix. Fantasy sports lovers, you put so much time, hard work, and effort into playing week to week that it quickly stops being a fantasy and starts getting real. And when the smoke clears, you want to show off those victories with a real prize. I mean, a really real prize. Nobody does that like Fantasy Jocks. The crew over at Fantasy Jocks have beautiful, high-quality, and heavy-duty championship belts, rings, trophies, and so much more for all your fantasy sports needs. There's literally only one place to go. FantasyJocks.com.
Here we go, bring it on in. It's time now. It's our city. We got to do it for them, dog. We got to do it for Cleveland. They're waiting on us. We're fine what we're about. Let's get it going.
Every single night, every single practice, every single game, we got to give it all we got because they're going to ride with us. Everything that we do on this floor, because of this city, we owe them. We're going to grind for this city. They're going to support us, man, but we got to give it all back to them. We get it done. The toughness that we have on the court is going to come from this city. Everybody, the whole city of Cleveland. That's what it's all about. It's time to bring them something special. Let's go. Bring it on in, everybody. Let's go. Hard work on 3. Together on 6. 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 6. It's all us. Cleveland on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Hey everybody, this is Jerry the King Lawler from WWE, and you're listening to the Sports Fix.
Welcome back into the Sports Fix.
Out on the streets, that's where we meet. You make the night, I always rise the line. Time our bells, abuse the cells, get in our way. We'll put you on your shell. Another day, some other way, we're gonna go.
Welcome back into the Sports Fix. J-Rocc here with you in a special, almost live, best of the Sports Fix. We're going back to our interview, one of my favorites. Of all the years I've done the Sports Fix, one of my favorites. Ernest Byner joined us here, a great conversation. We caught up to present time with him in our last segment. Now, let's get down to the nitty-gritty, what you guys really want to talk about. Earnest Byner's career, beginning with college and heading here into Cleveland. Let's pick it up right there. EB21, Earnest Byner, joins us here on the Sports Fit. Even before that, though, what point did you start to feel like, hey, football is something that I actually can pursue more than just as a sport? You know, when did you start to go, hey, this may be my thing?
It was probably after my freshman year in college, because I actually, I went to college really to become a coach. Because early on in my life, and this is part of the book, is I felt like it was a destiny that was on me. The Spirit actually spoke to me and told me that I was going to be a coach. So that's why I went to college. So that was the main reason I went there. That was the main reason I did a lot of the things that I was doing. As a teammate in junior high and high school with the guys, helping guys out. Patting guys on the back, encouraging them. But anyway, by the time when I got to East Carolina, I ended up beating out one of the starters that had been there, one of the seniors that was a starter, and ended up starting that year. He went on to become a professional football player, and then that kind of struck me. One day at spring ball, where you have the scouts come in. I'm sorry, that's my phone ringing in the background. But they had a kind of a tryout thing, and all the young guys were able to run for them and all that kind of stuff. And that's when it kind of struck me that I might have the opportunity to actually go out and play and be successful in the league.
Man, I'll tell you, and I hear you there, too. You see that, you go, wait a minute. If he can, then I can there. And then, you can see that dawning, and you're like, well, why can't I? And so, and that's part of that, hey, let's go for more and continuing to push yourself, and you end up drafted by the Browns. Talk to me about that, because you started out, Sam was still was the coach here at that time, and,
right.
the first few years of your career is kind of the evolution of that team, switching from the team that was the Cardiac Kids, that 1980 team that peaked there, and transitioning the roster into what would eventually become the team with Marty and you and Mac and Kozar and all of those guys that you just mentioned. So what was your induction into the NFL? You said all these guys took you under their wing and made it easier for you. What was your transition into the NFL and the Browns like?
Well, it was, first of all, after they drafted us. They flew everybody in, I think, the next day. And my welcome to Cleveland was getting off the plane to allow sleep in cold weather. So I was like, so this is the way it's going to be. Because I guess I slowly migrated up north. I went from high school in Georgia. To college at East Carolina, in North Carolina. So I'm kind of moving up, but I think that jump from North Carolina to Ohio was a bit shocking. So, and back then when we came in, if I remember correctly, we had a camp, and it was a mini camp. I don't know if it was like right that weekend or week after. I don't remember the specifics there, but I can remember being out there the very first camp, and it just felt like I was at home. I guess I don't know. The only time I had a doubt about perhaps making the team was actually the last cut day in training camp. The night before, I had a little bit of fear come upon me. But then I was able to go to sleep. I was, when your roommates start to get cut and, you start to have that lonely feeling, like, oh man, I don't know. But after the last cut, man, I really felt like I was at home, and, when Sam, then back up to the draft and, the last day of the draft, only thing I wanted to do was I wanted to be drafted for sure, because I was married, had a family, had a daughter. Her name was Samaria. She was my baby at that point, and I wanted to be drafted because I knew I would get money. I knew I would get a signing bonus. So It didn't matter where I was drafted, you know, and I told my agent, actually, before the draft, that, you know, all I want is a chance. You know, I feel like if I get a chance in the league, I can make it. I don't know what made me say that. I have no idea. But that was one of the, you know, some of the things that he brings up often about when I was sitting across from him in his desk in New York. And then being able to be drafted, man, and getting to Cleveland, you know, getting a little money, you know, then going through that process with the team that was there. Sam Retigliano was the first voice that I heard as a Brown. He called me. I actually ended up talking to Mr. Modell. I believe Ernie, of course, he was there at that point. And the development process was, it was on. You know, Marty took over after the 8th game of the year. And this is kind of funny. I asked Mike Pruitt, I said, hey, man, I mean, what do we do? Because this, you know, he's never been through anybody get fired during the middle of the year. And I asked Mike Pruitt, boy, I said, what do we do? I mean, what's going to happen? He said, hey, man, we go to work. That's what we do. so we end up getting in. Hey, man, hey. We end up getting in, and actually after Marty got the job, he saw within me something that made him bring me into his office, sit down with him, and tell me that, hey, I was going to be his man. You're going to be the starter. I'm going to build this thing around you. So it was a blessing.
And that was, matter of fact, Jonathan Knight, one of the guys that is one of the on-air guys on the show with us here, he's done a ton of Browns books, and he's talked about that. And when Marty said, hey, man, you're my guy, let's go out here and get it done, I don't know if you know how good you can be, but I do. And Marty Schottenheimer really believed in you, and really that's when things went full steam ahead for you there, and you and Mac formed that combination. I joke, I said, man, last year the Browns couldn't get 5 guys to combine for 1,000 yards, let alone having 2 cats out there each getting 1,000. You know what I mean?
Right, I do. That's hopefully the process of development, as you know, and you mentioned this earlier, the process of development is continual. Even the coaches, they got, obviously changing with the coaching staff and all that kind of stuff. Pettin will get better. Hopefully they can forge something offensively. I mean, because when you change offense, that's a different thing as well. But I think Pettin in his second year will be a better head coach, as especially I think with the mentality that he has, and I think Farmer will do a good job of getting talent up there. And if they're able to go ahead and hold those guys accountable and keep the growth process and the continual development going, I believe they'll do well.
Marty, looking back at your time, man, that was the key guy that really looked at you and pushed forward. What were your thoughts on him in his time here and that whole group? You've said, I've read some quotes from you about the fans and how nothing anywhere else was like what it was like here in Cleveland. I mean, that is truly one of the most memorable of all the Browns eras. There's a couple of them, and you are dead in the middle of that. Talk to me a little bit about some of that, what you remember, what that was like. I mean, you guys were rock stars there for a couple years on that run here in Cleveland, for sure.
Yeah. Being able to have the team, buy into what a head coach is asking of you, I believe was definitely critical. I bought in hook, line, and sinker. I always played with a sense of fairness and respect for the game. And was asked that from the people that I was able to influence. It was a blessing to actually be a part of that team, man. Because if you really look at that team, was really full of depth. The only thing we missed was the ability to outright just get to the quarterback. And even at times that showed up. Big Daddy Carl Harrison was able to. He came in from Philly later in his career and added some things to the mix, but that team was loaded with talent. They did a hell of a job of drafting and getting guys from the USFL, and bringing guys in, man. And you're talking about the strength of that team. Being able to go through the supplemental draft and get Bernie. Bernie lobbied to actually come to Cleveland and be a part of that, man. It was it was a special time for us, man. I you know, the ability to get in there and then stay consistent. You know, that's one thing that people kind of don't understand. You know, you have to go through some rough times sometimes to get to where you get a stable, consistent winner. You know, it doesn't just happen right away. It's not something that can be cookie cut and just say, hey, we can do it here, do it there. It's something that has to continually be forced. And we were able to do that because we loved each other enough to hold each other accountable, but also to push each other to the next level. That competition on that team, within that team, when we were having individual drills, when we had pass rush against Clay Matthews and Chip Banks and Eddie Johnson, when we had those periods against each other, one-on-one route running, and when we went against each other, we really challenged each other. It really helped us to take our games to a different level, man. It was definitely a gift to be on that team.
I'll tell you what. On hindsight, this may be a question you could answer now with looking back, and this is something I'd love to know. You obviously went on. You did some time with Washington, won a Super Bowl there. So you've been on a team that finished the journey, and you were on those Browns teams that came oh so close. Looking back now, what's the difference? Like, how close, really, talent-wise, everything, the whole package, were those Browns teams compared to a team that you did see finish the job?
Hey, man, to tell you the truth, I mean, there's not a whole lot of – there wasn't a whole lot of difference in talent level. The spirit of the team was a little bit different, and what I mean by that, it was the team in Cleveland. It was a lot of men who held each other accountable. We enjoyed ourselves off the field. We partied, we hung out. But when it was time to work, we came in and grind. We were able to put aside, whatever we had done the night before, the evening before. And we also knew we had some parameters that we stayed within when we had our good times, But and the team in Washington had a different base, a different foundation, which was more of a spiritual foundation. It was Christians, it was Joe Gibbs, it was we had each other over at each other's houses, just like we did in Cleveland. But when we were over at each other's house in Washington, we were doing Bible study. We were cooking. We still food and libations were still involved, but it was on a different. It was on a different level. The difference in making it to the championship, all the way to the Super Bowl, to me, it's so many intricacies and so many layers that go into both winning and losing football games. There's so many small things. And I believe it's a bit more spiritual than we realize. All of that interconnectedness that has to happen within the team, coaches' decisions, players' decisions, all of the bounce of a ball, the game within the game, mistake by one lineman or a fumble like by me. All of those things, man, it's a lot of stuff that has to go into winning and losing a championship game. And, with the ability that we for some reason, it didn't work out in Cleveland, but it did work out in Washington for me and to be involved with a team that went all the way to the thing. But that team in Cleveland had as much talent. And as a matter of fact, I thought if we would have won the game in Denver, we would have had a stronger, a stronger team that was more suited to actually play the Washington team. And as a matter of fact, that team that we were on the next year went to Washington to beat them in Washington. So to me, it was. You win, you lose, you're able to get over the hump at one point. No, not on this. To me, it's a bit more spiritual than we realize. But those teams were very well matched, and the talent wise, and also how the guys held each other accountable on different levels. So it was a blessing to be on both of those teams.
All right, guys, going to jump in there, take our first break of the day. Don't go anywhere. Sit tight if you like what you're hearing. EARNEST BYNER talking to us here on the Sports Fix. Great conversation. Tell somebody else about it. Send them this way. Click the little share link on whatever site you're listening to and tell one of your friends, buddies, pals, sports talk buddies, whatever you got, to come on over and get their fix as well. Don't go anywhere. 2 minutes. We'll be right back and pick up where we left off with EARNEST BYNER here on the Sports Fix.
The Sports Fix, your choice for intelligent talk.
That was wonderful.
Bravo!
I loved that.
Oh, it was great.
Intelligent talk.
Well, it was pretty good.
Well, it wasn't bad.
Well, there were parts of it that weren't very good, though.
It could have been a lot better.
I didn't really like it.
These guys must be on the wrong station.
It was pretty terrible.
It was bad.
It was awful.
It was terrible.
Get him away!
Hey, boo!
Boo!
The Sports Fix.
Sports Fix listeners, do you tweet? So do we. So tweet with us 24/7 at the Sports Fix CLE.
How to be a great dad in 15 seconds. Bike ride, go fish, walk in the park, phone call, milkshake, play catch, picnic, fly a kite, tell jokes, laugh, talk, read a story, tell a story, bumper car, swing set, bowling, pillow fight, cut loose, stay tight. Whew. Because the smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Have you gotten your copy of Cleveland's Finest yet? Highlighting the best moments, players, and media members in Cleveland sports history? In-depth, personal interviews with some of the top names in Cleveland sports fill the pages of this incredible book. Cleveland's Finest by Vince McKee is this year's must-have book for every Cleveland sports fan. Available now at Amazon.com. Get your copy today.
Business owners and professionals, do you want to take your business, your product, your team, your event to the next level? You want to advertise right here with the Sports Fix. Our listeners are among the most loyal listeners, terrestrial or internet. The Sports Fix universe is not only the radio show, but tens of thousands of fans on Facebook and Twitter. Email me, Jerry Myers, thesportsfix@AOL.com. That's thesportsfix@AOL.com. And let me help you swing for the fences and hit it out of the park right here on the Sports Fix.
Portions of the Sports Fix brought to you by Harry Buffalo. Harry Buffalo, join the herd.
News break.
I'm Christine Lisi. Here's what's happening. Former Ravens running back Ray Rice issued a statement to the Baltimore Sun as the one-year anniversary of his domestic violence incident approaches on Sunday. Rice apologized for what happened and the mistake he made, also thanked the team and the city of Baltimore. Sources say Rice plans to leave Maryland and move back to his home state of New York. He's hoping to relaunch his career after his contract was terminated by the Ravens in September, following the release of that video, which showed him knocking out his then-fiancée, now wife, in an Atlantic City elevator. Broncos quarterback Peyton Manning met with Executive VP of Football Operations John Elway. Manning is working through a decision if he'll return to play another season. He'll have an exam in the coming weeks on his surgically repaired neck for he and the team to gauge his health. Yahoo Sports reporting Major League Baseball is considering altering the textbook definition of the strike zone for the first time in 2 decades over concern the low strike zone has taken too much offense out of the game. Golf, J.B. Holmes and Justin Hicks tied for the top of the leaderboard at Pebble Beach. John Daly among those one-stroke back.
At Subway, experience the breakthrough taste of new grilled chicken strips. Premium cut all-white meat chicken without artificial preservatives or flavors. They taste better and they are better. Try them on a sweet onion chicken teriyaki or chicken and bacon ranch melt. Subway, eat fresh.
You're listening to the Sports Fix.
Welcome back to the Sports Fix Live, my friends across the Sports Fix Radio Network. All right, almost live. We're just a hair behind you here trying to get this thing up on the air. Internet all down. There's nothing we can do. And this is why we have a backup internet provider. I cannot tell you what's going on, but we did the next best thing. We brought you an almost live version of the Sports Fix, uploaded it through the use of digital technology, cell phones. Isn't the world great? At least we found a way to make this bad boy happen. EARNEST BYNER, legendary Browns running back, NFL great, joined us a few weeks back. We're replaying that audio for you here. Let's jump right back into where we were. EARNEST BYNER, old EB21, baby, joined us here on the Sports Fix. You mentioned the fumble. You seemed like, in talking, how grounded you were. All of those things, the lessons that you learned, the base that you had, is that all what made it able for you? And how long did it really take you to deal with the fumble and really moving on inside yourself?
Yeah, the stability that I had was obviously rocked at that point. You know, the thing that didn't happen, and I just wrote a blog about this today, was that I didn't go back and look at that game until years later. You know, and typically when you play a season and let's put it this way, when you're in the season, you're actually able to go back out there on the field and work out some of the issues or the mistakes that cost you not to win a game. And by that game being the last game of the season, that stuck with me much longer than it probably typically would have done if we were able to do what I just mentioned. The reality is that you know, going through that moment, the initial moment, man, I'm first of all, I'm exhausted. I'm so tired I can hardly stand up anyway. You know, so part of me falling on the ground was, you know, the unbelievable thing that happened, the fumble that happened. But also I was tired as I don't know what. Me sitting on the sideline, that look I had on my face, I'm tired, but I'm also trying to figure out what happened. The gravity of the moment is not necessarily there at that particular point. The gravity of the moment sunk in as time went on, and a lot of people kept reminding me and, you know, kept holding me accountable for losing the game. And I'm the first to admit, I'm sorry, I messed it up.
It's all good.
I messed it up. I messed it up for everybody. And the way I played the game is I played to be perfect. You know, I held myself to the higher standard, to a higher standard than anybody else. But what happened to me was because I would allow other people to decide how I looked at that moment, and I did not have the chance to actually work it out. And as you know, with going and playing another game, you know, that it sunk in more and more and more how much I had cost us as a team, and also the fans, the organization, all around the world. You know, so that started that sunk into me more and more and more, and I actually became what I'd say self-conscious. I would worry about what people thought about me when I went out, because, you know, at any point, somebody would say something, and somebody would say something that would actually kind of would dig into me. You know, people didn't understand that, you know, words, I mean, like that Geico commercial, words can't hurt, you know, when that guy gets knocked off his horse. You know, I was actually kind of being knocked off of my horse, you know, by some of the words that I allowed to penetrate me and affect me. So it took me years, you know, after I got traded to Washington, you know, I was playing at a high level, still playing at a high level, because I still held myself to that level. But I was weakened, and it took me to actually go through a spiritual conversion when I was in Washington, to actually forgive myself for making that mistake. You know, it actually took that much, and it shouldn't have taken that, because, you know, you still play at a high level, you still go out and you prepare and you bust your hump, you know, you go in, you respect the game, you respect the people that play, you respect the fans and all that. But in reality, it took a spiritual conversion for me to actually forgive myself and actually kind of move on from that and actually grow. And I think that was the time I started to do, some of the writing, some of the reflecting, some of the stuff that actually became what is the book now, and actually helped me to actually get on over the hump.
I mean, Ernest, that's a level of self-forgiveness. That's something I don't think people understand. I mean, when you talk, it's become so cliche in Cleveland, the drive, the fumble, those things have names, but that's a high level of something to stick with you for a long time. I mean, seriously, I applaud you outside of anything else. Awareness and things that get in your own head to deal with in life years later, and a lot of people go like that, and you have taken it and turned it into a positive. And I remind people all the time, and you don't need me to say it, but without Ernest Byner, that fumble doesn't need to happen because we get blown out in that game because you dropped 180 yards out there and a couple of touchdowns along the way. But let me ask you, coming so close here, what did that? I'm pretty sure I know the answer. Did that add to your level of appreciation for the run in Washington that ended with the Super Bowl? Because each step you knew how easily, boom, we could fall off track here.
Yes, it did. I mean, to be honest, yes, it did. The appreciation for what we were able to do. I said this, and it's on some of the Redskins. The video is, it was after the game, after we had, it was a sure thing that we were going to defeat Detroit and that we were going to the Super Bowl. I said, I've been crying all day. I'm crying now. I can't cry anymore. I cried on the way to the game, because the emotions that were tied up, the fumble that had happened, the drive that had happened, that all of that was, I get another chance at going to the Super Bowl, and I cried on the way to the game. I cried in the locker room prior to the game. I cried during the game because it was just the emotions were in me, and they kept coming up, just. Tears just kept streaming out of my eyes. So going through that process, actually getting over that hump was first of all tremendous for the team. Everybody on the team was thrilled for me. Once we got into the big game and I was able to score, we actually won the game. It was a lot of people on that team who were very. They were happy for themselves, but they were also happy for me that I was able to actually go ahead and get to the big dance, to the Super Bowl, and actually be able to touch the trophy and celebrate being the ultimate champion. So yeah, it was definitely a relief, man, and it was and not just because of the fumble, but because of the other times that we had been close. Because playoffs are not a guarantee. A lot of people, they wanted to get rid of Marty. People in Denver this year, they end up getting rid of Fox. But wherever Marty went, he won. He didn't get to the big game, but at least they had the opportunity to get there. You just can't take it for granted. Those situations that they're just going to continue. And, since Martin has been gone, there's only been one other team that's gone there from the Browns. It's time. I think it goes and comes, it ebbs and flows. And I think Pittman and all those guys, I think they're going to have the opportunity to get it, especially if they can maintain that sense of equanimity, the balance. They can stay focused on the basics. They get a basic thing, the way that they want to do things, and then go ahead and get to the championship.
Hey, I'm with you on Marty. A couple years ago, when they were doing the one of the latest coaching searches, I still wanted them to go back and hire Marty. I said, man, bring him in now. And he could still do the job. I love him. Marty's the man. I'm with you, man. Absolutely. Yeah, he is a winner. That's the best way to put it. Marty Schottenheimer right now could still coach winning football. Absolutely. Let me ask you, though, after all that, and by the way, and this is no slight to the Redskins, and you can answer this however you want. I'm not looking for anything in particular. When you're sitting there after winning that Super Bowl, did part of you say, man, I wish I was wearing a Browns jersey doing this here? Did you look back and go, boy, I wish we could have finished that thing off?
Absolutely. You know, and that's the other thing that a lot of people don't know. Eddie Johnson was actually there. He came up, and we hung out some. Matter of fact, we partied the night after the Super Bowl. He actually shared in the joy of winning it with me. So it was a blessing to be able to, you see that's the type of relationship we had. You know, we homeboys anyway, both from Georgia. He's from Georgia Stafford, and our families were very close, man. And being able to share that victory with somebody like that, man, it was a treat.
Oh, the assassin, man. And see, that's the memory that lives way after the confetti and the trophy and all that stuff goes away right there, man. Talk about those memories. You came full circle. What emotional? You seem like a very hard on your sleeve kind of a guy. And what was it like that last year coming back to Cleveland when, obviously that was the year that the franchise moved and you had the big game, the last game there, that home game. But that whole thing was surreal. You came back to Cleveland just to be a part of what turned out to be the worst chapter in Browns history. What was that like?
Well, it was, first of all, getting a call from Andre Newsom about the possibility of me wanting to come back. Like I would have had to have, did I have to think about whether I would come back to Cleveland or not? Absolutely not. And, the blessing of being able to come back, Mr. Modell instigating it, then having to go through the process of earning my way with Bill Belichick, because he was the coach at that time and he didn't know me. I don't know how much he wanted me or didn't want me or what. But Mr. Modell brought me back. He gave me a press conference. The thing one of the things that stood out to me was that how the Cleveland fans welcomed me back. How they welcomed me back with open arms and showed a level of appreciation and love to me. Once I got back, kind of reminded me of that. What reminded me of that time was actually when LeBron came back to Cleveland, and the amount of love and stuff that they had for him. Now he's a homeboy and all that kind of stuff, and that should be. I wasn't. And they welcomed me back like I was like I was being welcomed back home. And that coming back to that was definitely special. The announcement we got with when Mr. Modell came in and announced to the team that the team was moving to Baltimore. Definitely surreal. You mentioned that earlier. Definitely surreal. I mean, I can remember sitting in there. I can remember it just like it was yesterday, and you could hear a pin drop in there. Nobody asked a question. Nobody said anything. I believe we went on to do a meeting after that. I believe it was the Monday after a victory, and we actually ended up. I can't really remember. But either we watched some film and then we broke, and then everybody was in the locker room like, what the hell are we gonna do now? I mean, what's next for us? And for all practical purposes, I mean, the season was over. I mean, I don't know if we won one or two more games after that, but one of those victories was the last game. Yep. And again, that to me was a bit surreal. I mean, I get the starting nod the night before the game. In that meeting, I think Crosby was my coach at the time. Bill and them, they told me that I was going to start, and I asked the guys, everybody, to hold hands and let's pray. And we prayed that night. Now, get into the game. They give me the ball like six out of the first 5 plays. It's crazy. I can't hardly breathe. I mean, I'm like, man, because I hadn't played at that level. I mean, I was contributing and playing stuff, but giving me the ball like 5 or 6 times out of the first 5 plays, man, I was like, man, my lungs were burning. And it ended up, I don't know if I scored a touchdown or not, but I ended up rushing for over 100 yards. And at the end of the game, looking around, obviously we see the chair, the bleachers and all that kind of stuff they're throwing over the side and all that. And, but after the game, I'm sitting, toward the end of the game, I'm sitting on the sideline with Tony Jones. And he is, I said, man, I'm going to go over here to the dog pound after the game is over. And that started what seemed to be a parade of guys coming and going around the stadium. Saw a lot of tears, some happiness. Some people were happy about, obviously we had won the game, and they were appreciative that I came and shook hands, and it was a lot of gratitude, for what had happened, that transpired between the fans and us as a team, and it was definitely a blessing to be a part of that, and also a travesty because of a lot of Cleveland fans felt like they were losing part of their family. I think that's how they looked at the Browns as as having ownership. This is ours, and that was a tough thing to live through.
I'll tell you what, man, you say that, if you ask people now, you ask me, what do you remember? Last Browns home game, before the move. There's only a few things you remember. The Browns won the game. EARNEST BYNER ran over 100 yards and did the lap around the stadium and was out there giving some love after the game with some of the other guys. Those are the only couple of things that really stick off of that. Let me ask you, you mentioned about the travesty of the move, but I know that you, like some of the other guys, moved on with the franchise to Baltimore, and I know every guy's got different perspectives because Baltimore also gave you your first opportunity as a coach to get out there, and it's very important that somebody gives you the chance to start your career. So knowing that, what is your thoughts on the way things went down, the moving of the team, and all of that, man?
Well, when we got to Baltimore, we moved into the old Colt facility, and actually had a chance to play in the old Colt Stadium. And to me, that was in ways an honor, because you're looking at all the history that had gone through that particular stadium. 33rd Street, stadium on 33rd Street. I got a chance to actually play in that stadium. They, having that, and still trying to grow, still trying to get better, even at 13 and 14 years in the league. Still desiring to compete, still wanting to start. I actually got a chance to start both years. Ended up beating out Leroy Horde and a couple other guys. Bam Moore's got suspended for like the first 5-6 games. So ended up starting for a while there, beat out the other guys. I mean, I was still, it was a blessing to be able to continue, trying to play at a high level. And I appreciated the opportunity to go ahead and continue that. But then also, Mr. Modell sat me down like a son and talked to me, because I told him, after they decided that I wasn't going to play after the 97th year, he told me, said, hey man, I want you here. You have a chance to do whatever you want to do. You decide what you want to do. But if you want to continue to play, you can go and look other places. He allowed me to go interview with Marty Schottenheimer. He was at Kansas City at that point. Marty wanted me to be his running back coach. But I ended up talking to a guy named Lamont Winston, who was a player development guy. And that my spirit jumped when he told me all the things that he did with the guys and how he tried to get them ready for life after football and da-da-da-da-da. And I went back to Mr. Modell and said, hey, man, this is, well, I say, hey, man, hey, Mr. Modell, this is what I like to do. And they gave me the job as player development guy. But then when they hired Matt Simon was a young college guy. Ozzie gave me some additional responsibilities, and that was to assist the running back coach and make sure that the running back coach was able to, that the guys got what they needed. Because he knew my desire, and part of my gifts was actually being able to help the other running backs play at a higher level. Even when I was playing, that's what I was doing. It was a gift. Again, another gift that I was able to share that was given to me. So I ended up helping him, and then for like 6 years, that's what I did. I did player development, coaching, scouting. I even worked in the weight room 1 year. I mean, it was a blessing to be able to do those things and to have an organization. Mr. Modell had an organization that actually enabled me to actually do that.
Something that I noticed here, and maybe you guys listening did too, but it just speaks to the type of person you are and the upbringing and the respect. And I always talk about how the younger generation is just different. Every single time in this interview that you've referenced Art Modell, you've called him Mr. Modell, and it's so respectful. It's just something little that I noticed right away, and I said, man, you catch that because people don't do that nowadays. And I said, boy, that just is sticking out more and more because every time it's Mr. Modell because that was the relationship you had and that was how you referred to him. But here, 20 plus years later, it's still automatic, like it just rolls off your tongue that way. That's just a credit to you. Let me ask quickly. You mentioned you only had the one season with Belichick, but he was a different Bill Belichick at that time. But did you see where the future was going to go with him in that year that you got to spend with him here?
Actually, no. I knew that he was a good coach. Yeah, I knew. I mean, he was a good coach. And we were playing at a high level. The team was on the climb up. And the thing that stood out to me was first year that I was there, the playoff game the night before the playoff game, the last playoff game that we were partook in versus Pittsburgh. He showed a videotape of all the turnovers that Pittsburgh had caused that year. And it was a lot of us were really pissed off about that. I mean, you don't do that the night before a game. So that was to me, that was one of the mistakes that he made as a head coach. And I just hated that to the nth degree and thought that would be, something, if he continued that type of coaching, that would be something that would definitely hinder him. But I think, when you heard things, when you're 1 or 2 years later, when you start hearing things about what he was doing in New England, I was like, that's a little bit different than what he did here in Cleveland. So no, I didn't see that coming out of him. But the thing that I mentioned earlier when I mentioned Pettin was that coaches have to develop and become head coaches, just like players have to develop and become better players as they get the exposure. And Bill, he's one of those guys I think who was looking for perfection, was just trying to get it to where he could actually keep producing the type of winning that he wanted to do. And part of that was his own development, and he did a good job of developing himself, but also developing the players and the other coaches around him to be able to go on and have the monstrosity of success that he's had. And he's won 4 Super Bowls now. He's been to 7? Yeah. I mean, or 8. Or not 7. And it's an amazing thing to see him become the type of coach that he has become.
It's funny because your answer mimics a lot of the guys that played under him in that first run in Cleveland, that he had to change things, but when they saw what he did, then it was off and running. But he learned from the mistakes that he made here early on. I bet you coming in, too, I'm curious, what were your thoughts coming in with this guy as your coach, knowing what had just happened 6 months previously or whatnot with Bernie, who you were here through all the good years of Bernie? I'm guessing your thoughts coming in were like, hey, what are we doing here? You know, I bet you it was a unique situation just coming back in general that was the real change, the bridge between 93 to 94 when Bernie was cut and the fan base got real soured on things, and here you come back right in the middle of that. It was definitely interesting. When that happened, when I was in Washington, one of the thoughts was, man, what are they doing? Why are they doing this? What's the deal? And so when I came back, I had a couple of preconceived ideas because I heard how difficult the training camps were, and how crazy it seems like some of the stuff that was being done was. As a veteran player, you develop some habits and some things or ways of thinking based on the success that you had. I mean, I obviously had some success in the league. I was like, man, what is this? So I had my eyes open, and actually still was ready to learn. But I'm still a player, but I still wanted to develop. So I had to earn my keeps, and I didn't mind that. But it was funny, seeing. It felt funny coming back and BK not being there and knowing what had happened previously. As good a place as any to jump in, take our next break. We've got news coming your way, the update ticker, and so much more, and then we're right back into it. So, guys, do not go away. Sit tight. I'm J-Rocc. This is the Sports Fix. That's Earnest Byner. When we come back after the news, more Earnest Byner coming your way next as the Best of the Sports Fix, an impromptu Best of the Sports Fix, rolls on here across the Sports Fix Radio Network. We'll be right back with more Earnest Byner coming up next.
And now, a very special announcement from the Sports Fix.
Black bears weigh between 200 and 500 pounds. Brown bears weigh between 300 and over 1,000 pounds. Black bears run away from you. Brown bears run at you. When attacked by a bear, simply lie still on the ground and cover your face and head with your hands. When the bear is finished batting you around and mauling you, contact the U.S. Forest Service.
And that was a message from the Sports Fix.
Hey guys, before we go to the break, I want to talk to you a little bit again about our good friends at Harry Buffalo North Olmsted, the UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championships, some of the hottest fights in the world today. Each and every one of their huge events, Harry Buffalo is one of the few places in Northeast Ohio you can go there and watch each and every UFC fight at the Harry Buffalo. And let me tell you, I've been there. The people are out the door. They are to the rafters. It is one of the craziest environments for some UFC fights. Wing Mondays, they've got great deals on wings and drinks, and every day of the week there's a different special, a different deal. And don't forget the Bison Burger, the unbelievable. It is the combination of a fantastic burger and eating healthy combined into one unbelievable sandwich. You have got to get a Bison Burger while you're there. So whatever you're looking for, whatever day of the week, Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sundays, there's something for you at the Harry Buffalo North Olmsted, just outside Great Northern Mall. Check them out today. Harry Buffalo, join the herd.
It's the Sports Fix. We'll be right back.
Fantasy sports lovers, you put so much time, hard work, and effort into playing week to week that it quickly stops being a fantasy and starts getting real. Real time spent making real decisions, creating real victory.
I'm the greatest man in the world!
And when the smoke clears, you want to show off those victories with a real prize.
I mean, a really real prize.
Nobody does that like Fantasy Jocks. The crew over at Fantasy Jocks have beautiful, high-quality, and heavy-duty championship belts, rings, trophies, and so much more for all your fantasy sports needs.
The trophy's 12 feet high, and it is glorious!
Football, baseball, hoops, you name it, they have it. Plus, they have awesome draft kits and party supplies to make all your preseason activities the envy of everyone. If your league needs a ring, belt, or trophy, or you want to upgrade what you already have, there's literally only one place to go. If you're going to be a fantasy jock, do it right.
It's mine, the most magnificent belt ever created, and it's mine.
With America's fantasy sports superstore, FantasyJocks.com.
What's your fantasy?
Football season is party season at Harry Buffalo North Olmsted. Everyone wins at Harry Buffalo. Every Saturday is Coors Light College Football Saturday with $6 pitchers, 4 bottles for $10, and the Buckeyes in full HD. Football season is most definitely party season, and your headquarters is Harry Buffalo North Olmsted all winter long. Harry Buffalo, join the herd.
Hi, this is Dean Chenoweth, head coach of Cleveland's Lake Erie Monsters, and you're listening to the Sports Fix.
Welcome back into the Sports Fix, my friends. J-Rocc with you as we continue on with this special impromptu, almost live Best of the Sports Fix as we're sitting down with Browns legendary running back, great EARNEST BYNER. Great coach, great man, great a lot of things there. And hopefully you're understanding more about that and learning more about the man EARNEST BYNER besides just the football player here on today's episode of the Sports Fix. With that, I'm going to bow out of the way. I'm J-Rocc. This is the Sports Fix, and this is our discussion with EARNEST BYNER. I feel bad for EARNEST BYNER. I'm never letting him go. I'm just holding him hostage here. We could talk about his career forever. But fast forwarding, you then went on a run just as long now in the coaching ranks as you did here. You went through Baltimore, Washington, circled back there. You did some stuff with the Titans as a running back coach, the Jaguars, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Up until what? Last season, your first season off the sidelines since 97?
Yeah. First season of 31 years not being involved. So,
man,
yeah.
What has your coaching journey been like along the years? Has it been as fulfilling as you thought it would be? Because you started out wanting to be a coach, ended up playing for all those years, and then you finally reached that point where you did get into that coaching. Was it as fulfilling as you thought it would be?
Yeah, yes, in some ways, and no, in others. And first because of some of the situations that I got in with some of the head coaches, some of the ways that I saw things, and actually ended up butting heads with some of the head coaches, which is not good. That's not the way to do things. And from my perspective, I've always wanted to be the team player. Always have been a team player. But, I always believed in certain ways of doing things that I knew that were successful. And sometimes, having a discussion about something, some people look at it as being disagreeable. I'm just trying to express and tell you some of the things that I know that going to help these kids be what they need to be, both on and off the field. And, sometimes those kids weren't necessarily on board either. I mean, I had about 3 players that really challenged me, and it made it difficult for me to have the correct relationship with the head coach and also and being able to help them. So, I know now. Sometimes I'm a bit difficult. I know that. I'm the first to say that. And so some of that because of some of those ways of dealing with guys and some of the ways of saying it differently. Now, I did what I was told to do. Whether I liked it or not, I would express my thoughts when asked. Sometimes when I wasn't, and probably shouldn't have did it. But I would express my thoughts about how I thought things. But when I was told and was asked to do things a certain way, I did as I was told by the offensive coordinator and also by the head coach. Not unlike a lot of other coaches that have done as well. Now, anyway, saying that, that to me, kind of some of the bureaucracy of the coaching business,
politics, yeah.
I didn't necessarily like working with the guys, developing the film, teaching them, then being able to see the guys take what you teach them and go and make plays and do the thing, and also take what you're teaching and then teach the other guys that I can remember just standing and hearing Greg Jones teach someone something that I taught him maybe a year before. I mean, being able to hear that stuff, guys take what you give them, make it theirs, and then pass it on. That is as fulfilling as anything. As a coach, being able to see a guy doing what you witness what he's doing while watching the film. Like Chris Johnson, I would show him something on Wednesday and see it on the field on Sunday. And then, there's nothing like being able to actually help the guys both on and off the field. That was the things that I've always done. Even again, I'll take it back as a player. If someone was not doing what they needed to do on the field, off the field, because both affects each. What you do on the field affects what you do off the field. What you do off the field affects what you do on the field. So, being able to help guys to help them to see and understand that, hey, we got to try to get this right before we can get this right over here. Because it's going to affect you eventually. So, being able to help the guys understand both of those, to help them grow, and both of those dynamics is something that I cherish doing, love doing, and would enjoy doing now. I'm just gonna have to do it from a different perspective.
Ernest, I can literally feel everything you just said. I love flipping on the television and literally watching somebody. You go, hey, I know where you got that from, man. It's so fulfilling, and you watch it, but not just on the TV, not just like, oh, hey, big star. I'm talking about on a small level. I'll be on a small show in front of a few hundred people, and I'll watch a kid who is learning, and he comes up to me and asks me for some advice, and then he'll go do it, and you're like, there you go, kid, there you go, but it's so fulfilling. Is there a difference? Because everybody talks about the modern generation and how different the youth is. You've got 31 years of experience. That's a bunch of different generations of players. What percentage of these guys are coachable, are up for whatever Coach Byner tells them in the NFL, and how many of them are, they'll listen because they have to, but they don't necessarily apply what you do?
Right. Part of the gift of coaching is being able to figure out the different mindsets that you're dealing with, and be able to figure out a way to get within that mindset to get the guy to buy into what you're teaching, and what you're asking and what you're demanding. Matter of fact, because sometimes you have to demand, sometimes you have to ask, sometimes you have to demand, but then sometimes you have to ask questions of the individual to try to get him to give you the answer. Because for the most part, this is how I figured out how to teach these guys. And one reason is my first coaching job. I had Clinton Porters who didn't want to listen to what I said, and had a relationship with some higher ups that was a little bit suspect, and he thought that he didn't have to listen. So I had to figure out at that point how to teach these guys something, how to teach someone who didn't want to hear it, how to get them to buy into what you were teaching, what you were asking, with them not actually knowing that they were buying in. So that ability, those abilities to kind of figure out people and then kind of teach around some of the ways that their minds already thinking is, again, another gift that was given. So the different mindset that is within these guys that come up, basically doing almost anything that every now and again you get a throwback guy, you get an old school guy that listen, that takes it and is ready to just do whatever, to run through a brick wall for you. But most of the time, at this point, and this probably I started to see this more probably 6 years ago, where you actually had to almost, you had to work around the mentality of the guy and try to figure out how to get within him. And see, that takes time and takes a lot of effort, and try to get them to buy into what you teach them. It's definitely a process, and it's a worthy one, because if you can get it, that's when you get the perpetual thing that's happening in New England, where the players get it and they pass it down to the other guys. Once you get a situation like that, man, that's a beautiful thing.
Man, I'll tell you, I'm not your agent or anything, but if the Browns are listening, this man could fit in just nicely on your sidelines with the coaching staff. And I'm digging where you're coming from, absolutely, on all of that. EARNEST BYNER, great Browns running back here. I see why they call you Coach BYNER, absolutely, because you are a coach at heart for sure, man. Fast forward machine here, by the way. You're talking about these guys and all of that. You've mentioned a few times here about the things the Browns are doing, but you see the issues. They've got a lot in the news right now. Josh Gordon's got tons of stuff around him. You got Johnny Manziel. You got accountability. You got all these words being thrown out there. You seem like as good a guy as any just to ask, maybe not specifically, but, what do you do? I mean, you know what it's like firsthand, not to look on the outside and say, oh, cut this guy and trade that guy and do this. You know what guys are going through, what attitudes are like, what realities are like in the NFL. Talk to me a bit about some of these situations with the Browns and how you would go about dealing with some of these things.
You got to build from within. You got to get what is your base beliefs, and when you say something, mean it, do it, and stick with it. I think the consistency level with the organization has to be there, and that has to start. That starts from the top and works all the way down. You have to have consistency. You have to have an organization that doesn't operate on knee-jerk reactions. The guys that are running it now, the guys that are the GM and the head coach, they both need to have a level of consistency that's been given to them from ownership, and allowed to do the things in a way that holds. Just basic things that life offers: consistency, accountability. When you say accountability, what does that actually mean? How do you hold somebody accountable? If someone says that they desire to do something, how do you ensure that they do it? Do you have the follow-up? Do you have the level of love that it takes for people, basically, that is needed to go out and make these things happen? Do you have the ability to sit a guy down and get him to buy in to what you're preaching? And the team concept, family team concept. When you say those things, mean it and follow up with it. I think if you can keep it just that basic, it sounds so simple, but it's really hard to deal with, because when you're dealing with people, you're dealing with the emotions of the people, you're dealing with the cares and the desires of people. If you can get them to buy into the basic premise of that, we're going to operate as a family. We're going to take this as a family. Whatever your job is, whether it's the janitor in the building or it's the ownership, some of the basic principles of business are all the same. Some of the basic principles of life all the same, and they apply to the football team and to people in general. So if you operate from, in my perspective, in my opinion, if you operate from that, then you can really make some things happen. You'll have a lot of success. Everybody's not going to be happy all the time. That's not going to happen. But if we got the common goal, we got the common, In Search of Common Ground is a book that I love. When you are in search of common ground, you find that common ground, and you operate from that common ground, you can make a lot of things happen that would benefit the many, as opposed to trying to shape things to a few people and a few ideas. No, if you can find that common ground and operate from that, then you can really make some things happen.
And you know what? Something that I think in this past year, especially with a couple of the guys like Dansby and Whitner that they brought in on the defensive side of the ball, going back to the beginning of our conversation, you said something that I'm literally hearing it echo right back now. It's easy to go, the old Browns, the new Browns, and all of that. But in reality, you mentioned earlier about how those Browns teams held themselves accountable for all of these things, and they answered to each other. And that has nothing to do with the front office. It's easy, and yes, the Browns have had dysfunction in the front office. Hey, Art Modell wasn't the greatest decision maker with the Browns either. Obviously, people know he made mistakes, and he made good signings and bad, whatever. Point is there's a certain level where it's just on the players, and I think now, finally, you're starting to get some of that locker room accountability back, where I always say this stuff would have never flew back in your day, back in those Browns. Some of the stuff you see, whether even silly things, Braylon Edwards monkeying around and then cuts his foot and can't play, and all of these off-field things that have hurt the Browns over the years, you guys would have never, that wouldn't have been tolerated in the locker rooms. Forget what the general manager or the owner or the coach thought. You guys would have policed that stuff. And I think that the Browns have been missing a locker room that just holds itself accountable for so long.
You see, you call that ownership. A lot of people, they'll point to some of the other things that are being done. They point to the offense coordinator not calling the right play. You point to the head coach maybe not doing something, or the GM. No, players when they got that ownership. And they're holding each other like you just said, holding to a different level of accountability, and putting their arms around each other. Then that makes a total difference. Whatever the coach is teaching, grab it, learn it, and then go ahead and teach it. Have that ownership.
Guys, we have just spent over an hour telling you why the next statement is very important. Now you've really heard firsthand why EARNEST BYNER put together Everybody Fumbles, and let's talk about that, because I know that's your latest passion, the book you put together. Tell everybody, for those that listen, what it is. Everybody Fumbles isn't just a football book or a life book, or it's kind of all of that handbook there. Talk to everybody about your latest work.
Absolutely. I mean, it's layers of athletic life, of football life, and also just regular life. It encompasses a lot. It's about the fumble, but it has about 50 different short stories in it that have different references to football. The analogies are mainly about football, but there are a bunch of analogies that cross over into so much life. People that are interested in football, that want to develop their football mind, they can go into it and get a lot out of it. But there are also people that are interested in just personal development. It's a book that you can go in and glean some stuff from as well. If you have a kid, if you have an athlete in your house, if you are a coach that's looking to develop yourself, but also develop some other people, then it's something in there for you as well. It's a book full of life that can give in so many different ways. Again, the game and life has so many layers. The book, it has so many layers as well. It encompasses so many different aspects. It's a chapter in there on how to use the breath to develop yourself, to strengthen the mind, to give yourself energy. Man, it's a book full of life, and it's really taken my my life to write it and put it together finally. And again, it's still probably will be something that will end up being added to at some point. It'll be another edition. Who knows? Because I'm actually still writing. I write poetry. I have that. They can get the book in two ways. One is it's on Amazon. You can type "Everybody Fumbles" in on Amazon, and you can pull it up there. The other way is just go to my website, EARNESTBYNER21.com. That's EARNESTBYNER21.com. They can go to the website and order it off the website. There's a bunch of pictures on there. Matter of fact, it's the 30th anniversary of Kevin and I rushing for for 1,000 yards apiece. And that's coming up. We have pictures, and we have 16 by 20 pictures, 8 by 10 pictures already signed by Kevin and I that people can get. And there's some other pictures and stuff that's on there as well. They just want to tool around. The other thing that's on the website is a lot of blogs. And
I saw that.
Those blogs will teach. I just wrote one again today, and I think it's called "Progress, Not Perfection." That talks about the development process. Deals with some of that possibility. But it's a lot of good information. It's a blessing to be able to give. The book is $19.99, something like that. It's not, it costs you a 20 spot to get it, So, but it's some good stuff in that book, man. It's, as I've said, I'll say it again, life is full of layers. The book is called "Everybody Fumbles." The analogy is that everybody does make mistakes. That's going to happen. But, in each experience, there's a lesson for us to learn. And part of the book will help you go through whatever your situation is, whatever your fumble is. Learn from that fumble, but also, be able to teach from it as well. It's a real good product. I'm really proud of it.
I'll tell you what, I've seen nothing but good reviews and feedback from this. While you were talking, I made it even one step easier for people. On all of our social media just now, I posted the direct link where you can just click right on it and go get the book right off of EARNESTBYNER21.com. So if you follow us on Facebook or Twitter, it's all right out there. And, too, listening to you, and I believe you do public speaking as well, because you seem like you would be one heck of a motivational speaker, man, as well. You definitely grab somebody by the bootstraps, make them want to go out and get something done when they get done talking to you,
I would love it. Yeah. Put that out there for me, because that's one of the things that I'm looking into now is going into public speaking. I've done it. I've done it while I was playing, while I was a coach, and I've done some recently. You probably saw the interview on CNN. That's the stuff to really be able to make a difference in a lot of people's lives. The public speaking arena is something that I'm looking forward to getting involved with. So, I appreciate you bringing that up, man, because that is definitely something that I'm interested in doing. Schools, colleges. Businesses that having seminars. That's the type of stuff that I'm really looking to. That's probably the next step, and the base of a lot of it would be Everybody Fumbles.
I've got to tell you, Ernest, I'm sure you didn't expect to sit here this long with me, but I sit here knowing so much more about just seeing you, and not necessarily in a different light, because I knew where you were coming from, but it's just different.
Okay.
I mean, talking to you here, man, just it's so refreshing and wide open. Just an incredible conversation. And I think hopefully some people out there listening, I mean, it's one thing to see somebody as a football player, as a celebrity, as an athlete, as a quotation marks around the words, the fumble, but this is 3D. This is bringing the reality of Earnest Byner to people. I hope that came across to everybody. I mean, plus, and again, going back to not kissing up to you, but you are proof that you really can do it all the right way. You can be an athlete. You can be a family guy. You can be spiritual. You can be a role model. You can do all of those things, man, at the same time. It doesn't have to, we see so many stories the opposite. And I love to stress the good ones because there's not enough of that. It's easy to open up the news with the bad stuff. Nobody opens it up with the good stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that has to be stressed because otherwise people only see one side of things. But really, you are proof that you can not only do it, but do it well and give back because your whole life has been about giving back.
Right. And this is one of the things that I really ascribe. We try to do the right thing for the right reasons. What I do, I try to do the right things for the right reasons. Obviously, still a work in progress. Sometimes you obviously you cross paths with different people. Sometimes things are not as smooth as you want, but you learn from those experiences. You learn, you grow, you try to get more understanding. I've definitely been blessed. It's been an honor being on with you, man. I appreciate the opportunity. I love the possibilities of sharing, and I have definitely enjoyed this process. And I think Denzel said it in his latest movie. Perfection sought, progress accepted. So we look for perfection. And a lot of times we look for perfection in other people, but I'm looking for perfection in me. I'm trying to get it right. Still trying to get it right. I'm 52 years old, but still learning, still growing, and still love, trying to get to another level. So it's definitely a blessing, man. I appreciate you having me on. I really do.
Growing. I love that word. People say, "Oh, you can't change me." I say, if you can't change, then you can't grow, man. And that's the secret of life. I thank you so much, seriously, Ernest, for being with us. I really appreciate the opportunity, and this has been a great interview. Thank you for sticking probably much longer than you thought you were going to be hanging out. You thought you were going to hit a little 10-minute radio spot and plug the book and be out. You're like, man, hour and a half.
Hey, man, you got me where my heart was, man. You got me where all the spots that you hit. You hit the right spots, man. So it made it easy.
This has been great. You made it easy. I didn't even realize how much time went. I looked up and I said, man, I'm surprised. He's like, hey, man, I got to hit it. But thank you, seriously, so much. And by the way, I can't put a number on this. I've gotten dozens during the show of basically the same comment. People that were around during your era that say thank you from Browns fans for the memories, for everything. And at the end of the day, they don't care. I know the fumble is going to live in legacy, but it's everything that we just talked about. That is just one small chapter in a much bigger legacy, my friend. Thank you very much again for joining us. It was my honor to have you here on the show, Ernest.
Absolutely. Thanks, man. I love it, man.
Wow, guys, every bit as good as the first time to me. Hopefully you enjoyed it as well. Maybe it was your first time hearing that. Earnest Byner sat down for over an hour and, 20 minutes or so with us here. Just an unbelievable conversation. Great man. Check him out. Everybody Fumbles. Check it out. Earnest Byner on Facebook. Earnest Byner on Twitter @eByner. EarnestByner21.com. Check him out. And, of course, thanks to him as well for joining us here on The Fix. Guys, we're going to call it a day. We've got a lot to look into for next week, this weekend. All-Star Weekend in the NBA. Kyrie Irving representing in the three-point shootout. Kyrie and LeBron, of course, in the All-Star festivities as well. Matty D, Matthew Dellavedova. Delly also in the All-Star game. He's been added to the Rising Stars on the World Team. It's pretty cool. Only the third undrafted player to play in that event, so pretty cool deal for him. couple of Cavs representing an All-Star weekend. And other than that, it's a relatively quiet one here before the Lion hopefully begins to roar next week. Guys start reporting for spring training and all that stuff starts happening. So Vikings play this weekend, Buckeyes, a lot of hoops to watch. Guys, whatever you're doing, enjoy it. Of course, come back on Monday where John McMullen, hopefully, if they haven't bought him, or at least maybe if they sold him, they put him back on the shelf so we can get him on the show. John McMullen from the Sports Network, or whatever they're going to call it next, joins us here on the Sports Fix. We'll talk some NFL. Dan Wismar from the Cleveland Fan will be here. We'll talk Browns and Indians and Cavs with him as well, and we'll get rolling doing the next week thing. Guys, thank you so much for being with us, especially today with all the difficulties. Glad we were able to still do some business together, and hopefully you enjoyed this conversation. Weekend Browns, this is the week or hey, those were great times. Let's go listen to that. See? Do that. Tell your friends. Take a listen over the weekend and come on back here Monday. Same bat time, same bat channel, live at noon here across the Sports Fix Radio Network. Don't forget as well, next week, Vince McKee's going to join us, and we're going to give away a copy of his new LeBron James book. Can't wait to bring that to you. And Tribe Trivia Contest starts next week. We'll tell you all about it on Monday and so much more. Let's do it. Noon. Until then, we love you, Cleveland. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your games. Enjoy the All-Star game. When we come back Monday, we'll pick it up right here, doing the thing next week here on the Sports Fix.
So much hate up in this itty bitty city. If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. Put your hands up in the air, everybody say yeah.